Good morning, children. Sai Ram. I again welcome you all to the online class of economics. Children, today I am again going to continue with the same chapter, that is chapter number 3rd, and the name of our chapter is Features, Problem and Policies of Agriculture. Children, this is your third video of this chapter, and in the previous two videos we have already learned the importance of Indian agriculture, the features of Indian agriculture, the problems of Indian agriculture. We do have started our topic agrarian reforms, in where the first category of reforms taken by the government is explained, that is the technical reforms. So in today's video we are going to learn up the next two reforms taken by the government to tackle the problem of Indian agriculture. So let us start again with the same topic, that is the reforms taken in Indian agriculture. So children, as you all know that during the British rule, the condition of Indian agriculture was not at all satisfactory. The condition of Indian agriculture was remained stagnant and backward due to the various reasons, and some of the various reasons are already explained in the previous videos, like low productivity and low production, and heavy reliance on you can say rainfall, substance farming, old method of irrigation, this deficiency of finance, substance farming, disgust and employment, landlord and tenant conflict, lack of modern inputs, small holdings. These are basically the problems we have already understood in the previous videos. Now in today's video, as I just said, we are majorly focusing on the topic, the reforms taken in Indian agriculture. What are the various reforms taken by the government to improve the backward as well as the stagnation condition of an agriculture. So children, for doing this, a government has taken a series of reforms which is measured since independence. You all must be knowing that the first 5-year plans were launched in the year 1st April 1951, and on 31st March 1956. Thereafter, certain various 5-year plans, that is long-term and short-term goals, have been taken out just to improve in this agriculture. And children, all these various reforms basically known as agrarian reforms, and these agrarian reforms are classified into the three categories. The first one is your technical reforms, the second one is your institutional, and the third one is the general reforms. In technical reforms, I already explained you the use of HYV sheets, like we have introduced some kind of HYV, means the high yielding varieties of sheets, just to improve our production as well as the productivity. And for doing so, in the year 1965, the government has introduced this kind of HYV sheets on the various regions where the wheat and rice are mostly produced. Like at first, this HYV sheets are first implemented in the states Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Punjab, and we have recognized a great increase in the output of wheat and rice just because of the seeds. So later onwards, this kind of seeds are being used in every state and in every type of crops. Then it is used as the use of chemical fertilizers, and for this chemical fertilizers, children, n number of you can say the chemical fertilizers were used, and almost in the year 2017 to 18, nearly 265.9 lakh tons of chemical fertilizers were used and has been used to enhance the productivity of a country. Thereafter, the government has used the insecticides, pesticides of the crop productions, the scientific farm management, and the mechanized means of cultivations. So just children, this was the topic we have already understood in the previous video. Now in today's video we are majorly focusing on the institutional reforms, in where we are going to learn the abolition of intermediaries and regulation of rent, consolidation of land holdings, ceilings of land holdings, and the redistribution of surplus land. And at last we are going to learn the cooperative farming. And in the general reforms, guys will learn the expansion of irrigation facilities, provision of credit, regulated markets and cooperative market societies, and at last we are going to learn the price support policy. So children, let us start again with the same topic. Let's have an overview on technical reforms, children. So children, these are basically the technical reforms taken by the government to increase the production as well as the productivity. And for doing this, children, the HYV sheets have been introduced. So children, children, since 1965 we are basically using, or we are basically doing a conventional farming, in where we are doing the farming just to maintain the food security. I mean, we are not in a condition to commercialize the agriculture, which will bring us some money or some revenue. So before 1965 this kind of farming was being done, and in the year 1965 onwards the HYV sheets has been adopted specially for the rice, maize, jowar and cotton, to substantial rise in the crop productivity. So this is basically known as the Green Revolution. This is basically known as the Green Revolution. And what is Green Revolution? Children, a Green Revolution refers to a spurt. Spurt means an increase. So Green Revolution refers to a spurt in farm output during the mid 1960s, consequently upon the use of HYV sheets, chemical fertilizers, and increase in crop productivity. So children, green revolution focused basically on solving the food problem in country, and besides it was expected to raise the level of farm productivity, the farm output and income from the farmers. So you can also say that green revolution refers to a larger increase in the production of food grains due to HYV sheets. Then we have the second thing, that is use of chemical fertilizers. Children, the chemical fertilizers have been increasingly used to enhance the productivity, and for doing this, in the year 2017 to 18, for sure, nearly 265.9 lakh tons of chemical fertilizers were distributed, and it has been used just to increase the production as well as the productivity of a country. Now the third is use of insecticides and pesticides for the crop protection. Children, you all know, as during the ancient times we do not have a permanent means of irrigations. We do not have the modern technology, the modern inputs by which we can increase our production as well as we can save our crop. So that is why most of the crops were being destroyed, or most of our output were destroyed, just because the crops get destroyed by any kind of fungus or any kind of disease. And children, in the year 1965 and thereafter onwards, certain steps has been initiated to protect the crop against the disease and insects by using insecticides and the pesticides. And for doing this, children, the 14 Central Plant Protection Center has been started has been set up in the various in a country, and for plant protection, children, integrated pest management control or the pest management program was also being adopted along with the adoption of HYV technologies. So this was basically done in improving the total output as well as the productivity of a country. So a large variety of insecticides and pesticides were introduced for doing this. Now the next one is scientific. Next one is scientific. Next one is children, scientific farm management practices. Children, as we all know, we are doing a conventional farming. What is conventional farming? Conventional farming is farming, yet like we are doing farming just to continue to focus on the crops which offers the farmers the food security rather than those which yields a high profits. So the Indian farmer is reluctant to grow as an entrepreneur. He avoids undertaking the risk of profits. And for doing this, children, the scientific methods of farming, which is related with like selection of crop and the quality, preparation of soil, rotation of crops, selection of seeds, use of chemical fertilizers were being introduced for for doing an agriculture well. And in this connection, children, 23 agriculture universities, if we're doing this, 23rd agriculture universities are engaged in promoting the research on scientific cultivation. Next is the mechanized means of cultivation. Sometimes measures have been taken to spread the use of mechanized means of cultivation, and for doing this, a farmer needs various things to use the modern technology, the modern mechanized means of cultivation. Like he need the machineries, he need the tractors, he need the cheap credit, he need the HYV sheets, he need credit facilities also for purchasing the tractors, the harvesters, the HYV sheets, chemical fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides, and some other equipments. So therefore some credit facilities he needed for purchasing all this. And for helping the farmers in this regard, children, various cooperative societies, small and marginal farmer agencies, regional banks, rural banks, as well as the commercial banks were initiated for helping the farmers and for giving him credit facilities with the lower interest rates. So in India, almost all states agro-industrial corporation has been set up for this purpose. So children, these are basically the technical reforms we have been introduced for increasing the technological level for increasing the technological level in an agriculture sector. Now we are moving on to the next reforms, that is institutional reforms, or in short we can call it land reforms. What is institutional reforms or land reforms? Land reforms or institutional reforms refers to the ownership of land holdings or the transfer of the land holdings. And for doing this, children, a variety of institutional reforms or the action plans has been taken by the government. Now the first action plan is the abolition of intermediaries. Children, intermediators or intermediaries between the state and the actual tiller of the soil, which is known as the zamindars, have been abolished, and children, ownership right has been conferred upon those who actually cultivate the land or the soil. So this has been done with a view to stopping the continuous exploitations of the cultivators by the zamindars. So children, as you all know, the farmers are basically used to take a land on rent from the zamindars. They were regarded as the landless laborers, and they used to do the farming and can fulfill their livelihood. And the zamindars were was always in intention to increase their landing rates, and if they are failed to give their rent as in lagan, then the zamindars will exploit the farmers well, and they are intention to take over their crop produced, and they can throw him out from their land. So children, this kind of exploitation you can say was been removed by the government. And for doing this, children, all this abolition of intermediate has been explored. Children, the government has given or allocated the land to the farmers, those who are actually cultivating the land. So the ownership right is being given to the farmers, those who are basically cultivate the land. So this has been done with a view for stopping the exploitation of the cultivators by the zamindars. And for this, children, the fair rent should be done, and to put basically an end to this excessive and illegal extortion from the cultivations. Children, rent has been fixed. Generally this cannot be increased to one-third of the one-third of the value of the crop, one-third of the value of the crop produced. So previously, the zamindar were in intention to increase their rent amount or some kind of lagan from the farmers, because whatever the land they can earn or they can generate it, the zamindars were used to spend a lavish life. But with this land reforms, the government has regulated the rent up to a desired level, like it should not be increased from one-third of the value of the crop produced. This will bring a security. Second is the security of tenure, tenancy reforms, and the last one is the ownership right is given to the farmers. So children, to protect the tenant, the farmers, the tillers of the soil, from the eviction and to grant them the permanent right on the land, law has been enacted in most of the states, and this have the three essential features. The first is tenant cannot be evicted without any reasons. We cannot throw out the tenant from the land without any reasons. This can be evicted only in accordance with the laws. So land can be resumed by the landlord only on the ground of personal cultivations, but the landlord can resume the land only up to a maximum limit. So those zamindars or the landlords who are actually not doing the cultivation by themselves, and they used to give their land on rent to the various landless farmers. Now the government has taken a certain steps, the certain policies to take over their land and give it to the landless laborers. So this will help out in maintaining. This will help out basically the farmers who actually used to cultivate the land for a long period of years. So the landlord should leave some areas to the tenant for his own cultivation. The tenant in no case should be made as landless. Next is, as I just said, the regulation of the rent. Children, in pre-independence, India's rent were high for obvious reasons, like 50% of the total produce was paid as rent. So, if this was a thing which is being charged by the landlords from the farmers, so so that is why the condition of the farmers were very backward and stagnant. The jamidars were in intention to charge as much as high rent from the farmer, and this is somehow equal to 50% of the crop produced. The value of the 50% of the of the crop produced. So, in addition to such high rent, children, the tenant had to provide a certain free services to the landlord, and so at the beginning of the first 5-year plan the central government insisted the regulation of high rent by the state government. So it was laid down that the rent to be paid to the landlord should not be more than 20 to 25%. The major objective of such acts was to be make the rent fair and reasonable. Next is right of ownership. As I just said, the right of ownership is concerned. So far, the tenant have now declared as the owners of the land and they cultivate. So the ownership right is given to the various landless farmers who are basically used to cultivate the land. So they were recorded and they were recognized, or the ownership right has been given to that farmer itself. They have to pay compensations to the owners for doing this, and the amount of compensation should not exceed the level of the fair rent. And as a result of this measures, almost 40 lakh tenants have been acquired ownership right over 37 lakh hectares of land. So they have become better off economically and socially. Thereafter is the ceiling of land holdings. Ceiling of land holdings means, children, as you all know, the lands were very small and scattered into the various holdings, and it was very difficult for the farmers also to cultivate the land. And third, children, it is very difficult for the farmers also to cultivate the land, because the pieces of land is being scattered into the various places, and it is very difficult for them to plug well and to make production of various crops. So therefore, first the government has done the consolidation of land holdings, in which the various lands, such kind of lands has been adopted by the government, and it's been taken by the government, and thereafter it is consolidated. Consolidate means, consolidation is the practice to allot land to the farmers at one place as a replacement for his scattered holdings here and there. So it saves the cost of cultivation. And children, by the year 2004, more than 1633 lakh hectares of land was brought under the consolidation of land holdings. Now we will learn on the ceiling of land holdings. What is ceiling of land holdings, children? Ceiling of land holdings implies the fixing of the maximum amount of land that an individual or the family can possess. So economic rationality of the land holdings means, according to some economists, small farms are more efficient than from the large farms. They require less capital compared to the large cap farms. So children, with a view to promote the equity in the distribution of land, ceiling has been imposed on holding size. So ceiling on holding is the maximum size of a cultivated or the cultivable land holdings that an individual or the family can own. The surplus land over and above the ceiling limit has been resumed by the government and redistributed among the small holders or the landless farmers. So in poor countries like India, the supply of land is limited and the number of claimants is large. Hence, it is socially unjust to allow small number of people to hold a large part of land. So these are basically the reforms taken out in this. And the last one is children, cooperative farming. Children, what is cooperative farming? Cooperative farming is encouraged to enhance the bargaining power of the small landholders. Together they can buy inputs at a lower price and sell their product at a higher prices. Children, in the cooperative farming, the government insists the various farmers to do the corporate farming. The ideology behind this corporate farming is that, like, when a farmer is used to buy the HYV sheets and the seller were not in a condition to reduce their prices, because they used to have a good amount of profit. They used to charge a good amount of profit from the farmers. So the government says that it insisted the farmers not to buy the various HYV sheets, the chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides individually, but they used to buy the various things collectively. So when the farmers are going in a group to buy the various things, the various desired things, then the seller were not in conditions to charge as much as high as they can. So when the farmers is buying certain desired things unitarily, unity basis, then it will reduce the prices. And the seller were always been in intention to lower the price if he gets a lot of contract, or if he gets a lot of sell from the lot of sell is getting from the farmers. So this helped the farmers to get the various inputs at the lower prices, and you are in a condition, and the farmers were to sell their product at a higher prices. They can use to do the corporate farming. Suppose if there is n number of farmers available in the market to sell their product, and if any purchaser is giving them the least price of their product, then just because of paying any debt to the landlord, or just because of any particular reasons, he used to sell their crops at the lower prices. So this become very tough competition for other farmers also, just to reduce the price and sell it to the purchaser. So in that condition, children, the purchaser were in the safer hands, because he used to buy the various crops with the least prices. So the government asked him not to sell their crops individually, but they used to sell their produce at the cooperative basis. So a price has been fixed by each and every farmer, each and every seller, and no purchaser is in conditions to give less to the farmer or the seller. So this will help the farmers to get a good remunerative prices of their farm products, and for doing this the economic condition also rises. So children, up to this we have learned the land reforms. Now in the next one we are going to learn the general reforms. Now children, we are going to learn the general reforms. What are the general reforms taken? So children, there are somehow general reforms taken just to increase the economic condition of an agriculture. The first one is expansion of irrigation facilities. Children, with a view to raising the productivity in agriculture, various irrigation facility has been expanded. Children, as you all know, in the year 1951, barely 70% of land was under the permanent means of irrigations. But now the irrigation is covering almost 45% of the land under cultivation. So children, several major and minor irrigation projects has been launched across the different parts of the country, just to increase the irrigation facilities. Now the next one is provision of credit. children, the cooperative credit societies has been set up to provide the credit need of the farmers at the low rate of interest. As I just said, when the production is being done with the scientific way or with the scientific methods, then the farmer were in need to buy various agricultural machines, the cheap agricultural machines like tractors, harvesters, and for purchasing this, children, many cooperative societies, small and marginal cooperative societies have been set up for helping or for offering the loans to the farmers at the least interest rates. And for this, children, the various rural development banks has been established to cater the credit needs of the farmers, and at present, children, 94,647 primary agricultural credit societies and 768 primary cooperative societies and the rural development banks have been set up in the country. So the commercial bank commercial bank have also been catering to provide the need of the farmers, and these banks provide 72% of the institutional credit to the farmers. And for maintaining a proper credit facilities to the farmer, children, the government has initiated certain regional rural banks against the various among the various parts of the country, just to further enhance the credit facilities of the farmer. And in this regard, children, in the year 1982, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, that is NABARD Bank, has been set up has been set up in a country to help the farmers in this regard. So this was majorly the general reform. So children, in today's video, what we have understood the various reforms taken for improving the backward and the stagnant condition of agriculture. These reforms have been taken by the government just to increase the backward condition of the agriculture. These reforms are basically the technical reforms, in where we have learned the use of HYV variety of seeds, the chemical fertilizers, as well as the insecticides and the pesticides used to increase the productivity and so on the land, or the institutional reforms has been taken just to improve just to increase the production, just behalf of the consolidation of land holdings. Thereafter, the third reforms we have taken is the general reforms. The general reforms taken just to increase the credit facilities to the farmers. So children, thank you so much for watching the video, and in the next video we are going to start the next chapter. So thank you so much for watching, children. Have a nice day, and Sai Ram.